Welcome back to the Own Your Awkward podcast. I'm your host, Andy Vargo, and every episode we get into what has made our guests vulnerable and how they've learned how to own their awkward in order to live their best life. Stay tuned so you can hear every awkward moment in today's show. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Own Your Awkward podcast. I'm your host, Andy Vargo, and today we have the internet sensation and vlogger, Nicholas Wheeltalk. Nicholas, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. So if you're new to the show, in a couple minutes, we are going to put Nicholas on the spot and ask him what that awkward thing is that he's had to own in order to get to where he is today. But before we do that, Nicholas, can you let our listeners know a little bit about who you are and what you have going on?
Yeah, so Nicholas Wheeltalk here. I kind of known for my YouTube channel. If you search Nicholas Wheeltalk or just on YouTube, #Wheeltalk, you can find a bunch of my videos. I ride a one wheel, which is like a motorized skateboard. It's a phenomenal invention. If you're interested, you can buy one at onewheel.com. But yeah, so I'm an entrepreneur. I run 3 different companies. The #Wheeltalk is my 4th kind of baby child. So it's just a matter of just expanding, my comfort zone and, getting out there in front of people.
Yeah, so this is interesting. You said you ride a one wheel, like do you ride around town? Can we expect to see you on video riding that in these videos?
It's about nature views. It's a little motivation, some inspirational speaking, and then a whole lot of one wheeling.
Okay.
So the unique part about it is I'll be on this one wheel contraption, cruising around town, cruising around Florida or Minnesota is where I'm at typically.
Okay.
It's wild, man.
I've seen those, and while they look really fun, I was always the kid that thought it would be cool to ride a skateboard, but would always fall off. So I'm afraid to try that at my age now, but I might one of these days. It looks like a lot of fun to see people out there doing that. So
definitely a lot of pain
awesome.
too. I've hit the concrete pretty hard, and it's worth it.
Yeah, I would be the guy who's the grown-up 40-year-old that has like the elbow pads and wrist pads and a helmet and then a pillow tied around his butt with a belt. Just because I know I'd be going down at some point. Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Can never be too prepared.
So what got you into that? Was that an upgrade from skateboarding or what?
No, actually, I got a buddy that he's always broke, and it's like he's always struggling to pay bills, struggling for this. And these one wheels, if you buy them brand new, are $1,800. So it's not a cheap thing. So he's like, bro, I just got a one wheel. And I'm like, really? Cool. How much was it? He's like, $1,800. I was like, dude, you're silly. He's like, dude, you got to get one. And so I have a car sales business as well. And we had just had a good month. So I had $2,000 that was burning a hole in my pocket. And I was like, we'll see what it's all about. And I'm pretty old. So I'm 36 years old. Whoops. I'm 36 years old. So I was like, well, this is probably my last hurrah. If I was 40 or 46, I wouldn't step on this because, for the younger viewers, we don't heal fast.
Right.
So that was it.
Yeah,
I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And go ahead.
And for the people who are over 36 that think that 43, like my age, might not be as old as you make it sound, please stay tuned. But I have come to that acceptance, though, that there are certain things that if I haven't tried them by this point in my life, and not to be a party pooper, but it's just like, I don't know if I want to risk the broken bones because it's not, like you say, you don't bounce back the same. So there are certain things, if you haven't learned by a certain point, it's better not to try, I think. But
for sure. And I mean, the learning curve now, when we're, I remember our parents, it was like with electronics, they're like, here, Nicholas, you do it. And, sure enough, we can hook up the VCR or the Super Nintendo. Now it's when you're, I understand where they were coming from. At their age, we don't want to learn new stuff. It's hard enough just dealing with our day-to-day.
I tell you what, every couple of years when I have to get a new phone, I hold it in my hand and I'm looking at the new one, and I just look at it and I'm like, are you the one that passes me up? Because I know one of these times it's going to be the thing where I just can't handle the technology anymore, and I'm going to have my kids come over and actually program it and load stuff, or I'll be the guy standing at the cell phone store just be like, can you program all my information in there and save my pictures?
Right.
And what do I push? I need to call my kids.
Right.
They know it's coming.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't look forward to that day.
No, so you have an auto industry business as well as doing all this stuff on YouTube. That's pretty cool. You're a busy guy.
Yeah, I try to be. I'm a big Grant Cardone 10X follower, so it's how do you cram the most into a 24-hour time period?
Right. Yeah, that's a good program. If if people haven't listened to him, it's really inspiring to see a different way of thinking about how you're using your time and making your time work for you. So it's definitely worth giving that a watch.
Definitely.
So, without picking on you too much more, what do you think is that one awkward thing you've had to really own in order to get to where you are right now? Like,
oh my,
what is that moment?
Yeah. Okay, so the first thing that comes to my brain without, really trying to dwell is I'm not a good-looking guy, so I'm hard on the eyes. And so I do warn you, if you do watch the YouTube channel, put on some goggles or, some blue blockers or something. But, having to rewatch my videos and rewatch and edit, sometimes it hurts the eyes a little bit, so the awkward moment is having to hear yourself over and over, having to watch yourself. And it's real easy to get super critical, and I think all of us on this planet have that insecurity voice in the back of our head that says, don't do it, don't make that noise, or don't go talk to that pretty girl. So that was more or less just doing it, figuring out that, hey, my wife thinks I'm attractive, so I got at least one fan. So that was it, just owning that.
So how did that That makes sense, and I can really relate to that, because when I started being more in the public eye, and I started doing stand-up and would record my set, and I would have to listen to my voice, and I'm like, I hate my voice. I hate hearing myself. I did this funny inflection and that, and you start picking it apart. And then when I started doing videos on YouTube and Facebook and other social media, it was the same similar transitions. It's like, now I see myself, and I can't believe I did this and that, and didn't fix my collar and whatever. So I really can understand that. How did it? What got you past the point where you knew you had to get over that and actually hit post?
You know what? It's having that absolute faith. Just knowing that my message or my videos, it's going to help somebody. And instead of me getting caught up in my insecurity, just knowing that if it helps one person, it's all worth it. If it helps 100 people, that's a bonus. If I'm lucky enough to shoot something that goes viral, that's a blessing. But more or less, just that, that strive or that push to help somebody is what's helped me get over that awkwardness. Or that's what allows me to tolerate looking at myself.
You can handle looking at yourself. And I remember having to say at one point, it's like, at some point you have to hit post. And I had a guest, Suzanne Bandick, on, and she said something very similar, where she said, at some point, when the thing that you're doing is bigger than yourself, I'm going to misquote her, but basically when it's bigger than you, then it has to be done. And that's kind of what I hear you saying is, you know that you're going to help somebody. And what got you into thinking that you needed to help people, or that you wanted to? Did you have something that...
The kind of the breaking point, or the tipping point, was I've had old employees. I've ran direct sales companies. We sell auto glass. We are those guys at gas stations, at Sam's Clubs. And I always ran a really prominent office. So I've had old employees just message me randomly and say, hey, Nicholas, I really appreciate you pushing this positive mindset stuff on me. And, it was more or less, I've kind of missed that. And so that's where I was on the one wheel one day listening to some audiobooks, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. And it's kind of my gift. I talk about it a lot. My blessing is my curse. I'm really a good people person. But, over the years, people have really ruined being a people person for me, but it's kind of, God's given me these gifts, and I have to go out and use them. Because if I don't use the gifts that God gave me, I'm kind of a depressed person if I don't, the days I have to do paperwork or I'm stuck in an office, those are my worst days. The days where I'm out interacting with big crowds or, at a cocktail party or something of that nature, those are when I'm happiest. So it's more or less just embracing your gift.
Yeah. And one thing that I think, you talked about getting past it and knowing that your message is big enough. Is it just cured as soon as you get to that point and you post your first video and then you're just over it and you don't worry about ever seeing yourself again? Or does that still, have you had relapses or moments where you're like, gosh, there's that guy again?
No, I mean, every single day, and then I realize as you get bigger or you generate more exposure, you're going to find the haters. And, there's some pretty cruel people out there on the internet. And it's just a matter of, I understand if I have haters, I know there's positive people that are too shy to message. So it's every day it's a battle. Every time you push post, it's a battle, but just do it. What do you have to lose?
Yeah, I think that's a really key thing you mentioned, because people love negative information or love sharing negative thoughts. Even the people who feel like they are positive. And I think it's important in two ways. One is, if you're trying to do something out there, ignore the negativity, because that's always going to be there, and it's going to be there, like you said, way more than the people who are too shy to say something positive. But also, we all need to remember, when we see people out there that we appreciate, don't be ashamed or afraid to, it doesn't even have to be a comment, just a like or a thumbs up, or, everybody who's doing this kind of stuff really appreciates any share or attention that is positive reinforcement, so that when you're trying to reach that one person, and maybe you reach 10 and don't even know it, So
that's true.
So don't forget to do that, right?
Yeah, give us a like, give us a high five, and if you don't, cool. Just more or less, my videos are really about just being a positive influence. My latest video was called "What You Do Matters," and it's no matter what job you do in this, and especially in the U.S., like everything's all interconnected. The first thing that came to my head was, if you're a stocker at Walmart, like, I need you. Like, I go in there in a frantic hurry, and if there's no milk, like, I get upset. So what you do, no matter what you do, it truly matters to somebody.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, my kids are a little bit grown now, but I always relate things back to movies and kid movies and stuff, and I just like the idea of the bee movies, of when the bees stop working and all of a sudden everything just slowly starts dying, because you don't notice all that work that's being done at a certain level that has a ripple effect.
Right. We do a lot of auto glass sales at different car washes here in Minnesota and also in Florida, and that's one of the messages I preach to my guys, is just, be that positive force today. Just, who knows what somebody's going through. If you're really positive, and we've had feedback from customers where they're like, hey, I was having a bad day until you were really nice. I've had reps get tips just because they greeted them in a really friendly, and they were really helpful.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because we have no idea what type of impact we can have on somebody. And it's something I think, honestly, us as humans, we really take for granted.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because you go throughout your day and you get so focused on the task at hand, or getting from point A to point B, and yet who knows how bad of a day or how broken somebody else is, or what place they're in their mindset when they encounter you. And as simple of an act as a smile, or holding a door, or making someone laugh, that might be the only positive encounter that person has that day with another human being.
Very, very true. And, I think about our worst days. I've had plenty of bad days where the car breaks down, or, the car won't start, and just some random strangers come and help you push to the side. But I think we all have that inner thing inside of us that want to do good and help other people. And a lot of people just don't know how.
Right. Yeah. And it's, I think a lot of times we're too afraid to ask if someone needs help, because so many people are afraid to ask for help. And I think it's scary a lot of times to ask for help than it is to ask if someone needs help. But to just say, would you like help? Or, hey, it looks like you're okay, but would you like a hand? Because we're afraid of offending somebody or scaring them off or making them feel uncomfortable. Yet if a hand was offered, even if it was just company while they change their tire, or another perspective on which way to lean on the bolt to get it to come undone, whatever it is, that
true.
can go a long way.
Right. And I'm going to touch on a point you made earlier is I feel like in this day and age, people jump on social media, like looking to be offended or like looking to find something to harass somebody. And I mean, I know we see it every day in our grammar. We have those, I'm sure you have some grammar Nazis on your list.
Yeah.
But it's crazy that in this day and age, if you can find somebody, or if you just see somebody struggling by just offering to help somebody reach something high, it's crazy how that can leave a lasting impact, or it can even change somebody's day.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a great point, because I think a part of being positive in the world, which obviously you're aware of, being that's what you're focusing on, is putting positive energy out there. A big part of that isn't just the energy we put out for other people, it's what we're looking for, and are we looking for positive or are we looking for negative? So if you see something wrong, one of the things that I like to think about when I'm going to post something on social media, I have times where I want to say, oh my gosh, my day just really went south and it was awful and it's horrific. Well, that's just putting negativity out there if I post that way. But how can I change that into a positive? And maybe I'll say, gee, on the darkest days, at least I can look towards this. Or even when things are going wrong, at least this is going right. And somehow figure out a way to make a positive or supportive comment that can help other people if they're having a bad day, not just, have the misery loves company party.
Yep. And I'm a firm believer in the law of attraction, and it's what you go looking for is what you're going to find. If you are having that bad day, if you can find the silver lining in that one lesson, or you can find the one thing that went right in that bad situation, I feel more positive things tend coming. And nothing's worse than stubbing your toe. And this is one of my little secrets is I'll stub my toe in the morning or spill my coffee on myself. And I'll be like, oh, well, God, if this is the worst thing that happens to me today, it's going to be a good day. And it's so crazy how, one little thing that could have just ruined my whole day is, all right, well, I'll take it. If that's the worst thing that happens today in the big scheme or the big picture, it's going to be a good day.
Yeah, I have a similar thought process where I've had some things happen and I have to think about how much energy am I going to devote to that negative thing. So if I stub my toe and I'm going to stew on that for 2 hours, how am I ever going to get over if something major happens? It's like if something really bad goes down, how am I going to get over that if I can't even get over a stubbed toe in the morning? So
right. And I'm a firm believer is, the more problems you're able to juggle and the faster you're able to get through problems, that's what's going to ultimately define your net worth. Think about the big CEO of GM, right? Or the CEO of Johnson & Johnson that makes basically everything on this planet. Can you imagine the negatives those guys have to handle? And, there's a reason that CEO makes, $50 million a year is they're dealing with $50 million a year problems where, you look at the guy on social media just bashing everybody, they can't even handle, the cat pooped in the, on the carpet, or I couldn't think of a minuscule problem.
But well, and I remember, I've been in positions where I felt like I was catching all of the problems in the company I worked for and thinking, why is everybody bringing me their problems? Why is it always me that has to deal with all the problems? And until my mindset shifted in order to understand my job is to help other people with their solutions. They're looking to me to be a leader to help them solve these problems. They're not dumping them on me. They don't know where to go. And when you can change your mindset to that, then you can actually understand that you see it as you bringing value instead of being someone else's dumping ground.
Yeah, and that's the truth. And people, there's an old saying about like a garbage man. We all accumulate garbage throughout the day, and every once in a while we have to dump our garbage. And sometimes we're the ones that are getting garbage dumped on us, and sometimes we're the ones dumping, you know.
Yeah. Right. I read a book a few years back about getting along in the workplace and things, and one of the things was, are you the person are you dumping on your friends, and when you're talking to them, are you just dumping your problems on them, or are you actually looking for a solution? What is the purpose of the conversations you're having during your day? And it made me very aware of kind of removing griping from my day, because there really was no value to it, and you just stay in that moment and relive it over and over again if that's the case. So don't want to be that
right
guy.
And then when you're that one just gossiping, or if you're the one that always dwells on your past, like what you said is perfect, is you're reliving it. And if you relive the bad circumstance, or the more people you share it with, going back to the law of attraction, I feel you just attract that. Or if you're stuck in that moment, you can never propel forward. What's the saying is, a negative attitude can never fix a negative situation.
That's a good saying. And there's plenty of research scientifically about, the way your brain works and feels, and the endorphins released, and how much of that is, I always mess up the science behind it, but that definitely your brain doesn't know the difference between a memory that you're reliving and the actual experience. So you're just recreating the same stress, recreating the same bad thoughts and feelings, rather than actually picturing it going well, or finding the solution in your head, and so that you can manifest it. It's all like you're talking about with the law of attraction.
Yeah. And, we all have bad stuff that happens to us, every single day. We have no idea what's going to happen, right? The future is kind of unknown to a lot of us, but it's, once again, if you're looking for positivity, or if you're looking to spread joy, it's funny how that just comes back in full force. And if you're a happy person, it's crazy how you tend to surround yourself with happier people. And
right,
it's always the same thing at the office, right? And at the water cooler, all the negative Nancys tend to surround themselves with each other. And the happy Henrys are like, can't even go get water right now. I'll drink coffee.
Yeah, I'll come back later. Right. That's a good point. So how do you come up with what you're going to talk about for your next vlog that you do? Is it just kind of looking around at life, or you watching the negative Nancys at the water cooler and thinking, I'm going to turn that into a positive thought?
I just shoot spitballs at the negative Nancys, and then I kind of just talk about what pops to my head. Or, to be honest, is more or less just a day-to-day experience. The one I was talking about is what you do matters was, I got really good customer service at Walmart. I was struggling to find something, and, this guy just helped me out. And I was telling somebody about the experience, and they went on to bag how crappy the service is at Walmart. And, it just made me dwell, it made me think. I'm obviously a pretty awkward or a weird guy, where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give a shout out to just really everybody that might not think what they do matters, but in the scheme of things, like everything we do is all interconnected. I have, like I said, I run 3 different businesses, so every day there's usually something that's funny that happens. There's definitely something that's crazy that happens. There's the negatives, but it's what can I share with the world that, once again, that might help 1 or 2 people. And the thing we do matters, that's relatable. It makes sense to people. And I'm a big fan, or a firm believer in your attitude equals your ability. What you think about, you become. And if it can inspire somebody to just think bigger, or, just inspire somebody, the millennial generation, they get a bad rap, but I really feel they're more intelligent than you or I when we were their age. But, I guess I heard something going on with my detailing business where, people feel they're just a speck of sand, that their life is nothing. And I'm like, geez, at 19 or 20, life was difficult. It was terrible for me. And, now that I'm 36, like all those experiences, now I have spending money. I don't live paycheck to paycheck anymore, because what I did at 21, 22, 23, I was getting an education. I was getting knowledge. I was learning how to build proper relationships. I was making mistakes. So it's, and one thing in life you can't cheat is time or experience. And so if what you do today, you're building a platform, or you're building a base to take you where you want to be when you're 30, when you're 40. I've read a lot of books, but say our brains, especially as males, they peak when we're 45. So it's like we haven't even hit our best years yet. So for you to live like that YOLO generation, right? You only live once, but it's like, those life choices. I have a buddy that was really big into cocaine in his 20s, that now he's 33 and he has kidney failure. So he has to go to dialysis every single day. And that was the guy, YOLO. You're like, bro, like, calm down.
Yeah.
But,
it's going to be a lot.
It's,
those decisions can really make it a lot shorter YOLO, if you are careful. Yeah.
You're only living once on your way to dialysis, and then he's got a kid now, so for living, life really, really matters to him, where, back when we're younger, we're invincible.
Yeah, for sure.
I have three small children where it's like, oh my gosh, now I got to eat right. I got to exercise, because if I don't,
you got to be around as long as you can.
Man, I want to see these memories. I want to see these kids grow up and see, how dynamic they can come. I want to be able to console them when they're struggling, be the parent that we couldn't be.
Yeah, that's kind of my kids are late teens and early 20s, and I'm at that point where, my opportunity to see as much of my kids' lives as possible and future grandkids or whatever, wherever that goes, is all based on my health. So, me keeping myself in good health is all about being able to see them for as long as I can and experience as much of their life as possible. And hopefully that's a really long time from now, but I mean, you never know. But
definitely
do everything I can to do it. That's why I'm not on the one wheel, but
yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm on it. I'm building up dexterity. My collarbone and my shoulders.
Yeah.
I'm staying springy.
You're taking the opposite. Yeah, that's a smart plan too. Well, hey, we got just a couple minutes here. Is there any last words of wisdom or advice you want to leave with the audience before we go?
You know what is more or less just be the best you possible. In this day and age, we live in a world where negativity is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. Don't watch the news, or don't partake in it. Be the best you, whether it is plan to read some books, plan to watch something that makes you happy, because you never know your actions today, what they're going to mean tomorrow. And what you do today determines where you're going to be 3 months from now. So if you can rack 10 to 15 to 20 really good days, you're going to set yourself up for success. And you don't have to be perfect. The last person that was perfect to walk this earth got crucified. So we're not saying that by any means, but just be the best you. Whatever you do, just try and give it a little bit extra effort. And the last thing I'll leave it with is how you do anything is how you're going to do everything. So 10x it, go hard.
Yeah, I love that. That's really, the nice thing is boils down to a very simple thing to follow. Just be as good as you can. I love that. And it's super positive and not scary when you think about just doing whatever you can. So I love what you're doing. I love your message. Go ahead.
I was just saying, just enjoy the journey. If you watch my very first videos, they suck, and it's cool to watch the progress. And just like doing anything else, the more you ride a bike, the better you get at riding a bike. So enjoy the journey and go, baby, go.
I love it. Awesome. Well, Nicholas, thank you so much. And everybody, we will have links to all of Nicholas's social media and YouTube channel and everything in the description here. So be sure to check that out. Give him a follow and a like and a share so he knows that he's reached more than one person today. And super appreciate you being on, Nicholas.
All right, Andy. Well, it was a pleasure. You guys enjoy your day, and wish you the best. We'll be in touch.
Thanks. Take care.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening in for today's show. Be sure to visit awkwardcareer.com to continue your journey. And of course, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends so they can find their awkward side and learn how to own it.